My name is Michael Wotorson, and I serve as the Executive Director of the Campaign for High School Equity, otherwise known as CHSE. We are a coalition of 10 civil rights organizations representing communities of color focused on high school education reform. Our partners are united in the conviction that it is every student's right to receive a high-quality high school education that will expand opportunities for success in life. I just want to spend a little bit of time talking about the education crisis from the perspective of civil rights. To say that the state of education in America is a disappointment would be an understatement of vast proportions. We consider some facts. Black and Latino 17-year-olds read at the same level as white 13-year-olds. Of incoming ninth graders, a third will drop out and another third will graduate lacking college or work-ready skills. African American, Latino, American Indian, and Alaskan Native high school students have at best a 6 in 10 chance of graduating from high school on time with a regular diploma, compared to a national rate of more than 70%. And for Asian Americans, the situation is equally bleak. About 50% of Cambodians and Laotians and about 60% of Hmong, aged 25 and older, have less than a high school education. These facts alone illustrate the stark reality of the crisis and the dramatic need for reform. I echo the likes of Secretary Duncan and other education leaders when I say that education is the most important American civil rights issue of the 21st century. As a consequence of persistent inequity and segregation, we have two different school systems in America today. Recently, I visited Halifax County in North Carolina, where I've witnessed firsthand the duality of the American education system. First of all, the majority of the residents of Halifax County represent communities of color, and this county has the highest percentage of families living in poverty. Of the more than 23,000 students who dropped out of North Carolina high schools in the 2006-2007 school year, students of color and those from low-income families were disproportionately represented. Halifax County offers a clear picture of the vulgar realities that so many children must confront. In fact, the children in Halifax County are not faced with a challenge. They are quite literally faced with an onslaught of challenges as they try to learn basic skills to be successful in life. Lack of rigorous curriculum, lack of access to effective teachers, low expectations, etc. The list goes on. The situation in Halifax County is quite frankly emblematic of the unfinished legacy of the 1954 Brown v. Board of Education decision. While Brown ensured children would have unfettered access to public education, it did not ensure equity in public education. So clearly, American education policy must change, and it must change now. We in CHSE believe that the federal government can help the nation make great strides towards achieving these goals by adopting the following policies. First, make all students proficient and prepared for college and work. Access to equal opportunity can only exist if all students are challenged to reach the same high expectations. To that end, we believe states should align high school standards, assessments, curriculum, and instruction with college and work-ready standards. B, we should guarantee that all students have access to rigorous and engaging classes in core subjects. And C, states should be required to publicly report on access to college preparatory classes, course-taking patterns by income, race, and ethnicity, both among and within schools. Second, we must hold all high schools accountable for student success. As it stands, there are very few mechanisms for making sure that high schools are held accountable for the success of all students. So a well-designed accountability system would include A, codifying in law the current graduation rate regulations, B, ensuring that every state continues to make progress on developing longitudinal data systems that allow them to measure student progress over time, C, publicly reporting disaggregated racial and ethnic data to highlight subgroups of students, and D, using high-quality, valid, and accurate assessments for all students. Third, we should redesign the American high school. The federal government can encourage, incentivize, and require systems that support high-quality high schools by urging the following policies be adopted. A, integrated student supports that utilize both in-school and community-based services. B, instructional practices such as culturally competent learning techniques. C, consistent standards and practices such as improved identification and assessment systems to facilitate English language learners' integration into the public education system. And D, access to computers and other learning technologies. So clearly there is a lot of work to be done, and we must gather the collective will to do it. The will should be driven by need as well as a likely return on our investment. If we can implement these policies that will drive high schools, that will drive reform in high schools, we can make a difference. Reform works. One only has to speak to the students from Gaston College Preparatory High School, a charter school in Gaston County, in Gaston, North Carolina, that serves a high percentage of low-income students and is just down the road from Halifax County. Every senior in this high school, a high school that boasts a 100% graduation rate, has been accepted to at least 2 colleges or universities. This should not be the exception in American high schools. Frankly, it should be the rule. CHSE therefore urges swift passage of an improved ESEA that strengthens accountability as a core element of reform and includes critical supports for high schools. Only then will we graduate every high school student prepared for college and the modern workforce. Thank you again for the opportunity and privilege to testify before you. The full text of my testimony has been submitted to the committee, and I'd be happy to answer any questions.